My name is Jack and I'm a paranormal investigator. I've seen things that most people wouldn't believe in their wildest nightmares. But there's one case that will forever haunt me, the abandoned asylum. It was a dark and stormy night when I received the call. The old asylum on the outskirts of town had been abandoned for years, but strange things had been happening there. People had reported hearing eerie sounds and seeing shadowy figures in the windows. Some even claimed to have seen a wheelchair moving on its own. As a seasoned investigator, I couldn't resist the call of the unknown. I arrived at the asylum with my trusty equipment, ready to uncover the truth. The building loomed before me, its windows shattered and its walls covered in graffiti. It was the perfect setting for a horror movie. But this was real life, and I was about to dive headfirst into the unknown. I entered the asylum cautiously, my flashlight cutting through the darkness. The air was thick with a musty odor, and every step I took echoed through the empty halls. The asylum was a labyrinth of decaying rooms and crumbling corridors, and it didn't take long for me to feel a sense of uneasy settling in. As I ventured deeper into the building, I began to hear strange sounds. Whispers that seemed to come from nowhere, and faint cries that sent shivers down my spine. I couldn't help but wonder if I was truly alone in this forsaken place. Then, as I turned a corner, I saw it. A wheelchair, slowly moving on its own. My heart raced as I watched it glide across the floor, no visible force pushing it. I knew I had to capture this on camera, to prove that what I was experiencing was real. I reached for my camera, but just as I was about to hit record, the wheelchair stopped moving abruptly. It was as if it knew I was watching. I couldn't explain it, but I knew I had to keep going, to uncover the truth behind this paranormal activity. As I continued my exploration, I stumbled upon a room filled with old CCTV cameras. They were covered in dust and cobwebs, but they were still operational. I couldn't believe my luck. Maybe I could capture more evidence of the supernatural. I began to review the footage from the cameras, and what I saw made my blood run cold. The video showed scenes of unspeakable horror, torturous experiments conducted on patients by the asylum's doctors. It was a glimpse into a nightmarish past that the world had forgotten, and it sent a chill down my spine. As I delved further into the footage, I noticed something even more disturbing. The doctors themselves seemed to be under the influence of something dark and malevolent. Their eyes were empty, and they moved with an unnatural grace. It was as if they were possessed by a sinister force. My heart raced as I realized that I had to find out more about the asylum's history. I knew that the answers I sought lay in the basement, where the doctors had kept their records. Armed with my flashlight, I descended into the darkness. The basement was a maze of old files and decaying furniture. I had to sift through piles of dust-covered documents to find what I was looking for. And then, I found it. A diary belonging to one of the asylum's doctors. As I began to read the diary, I learned the horrifying truth. The doctors had been conducting experiments on the patients, subjecting them to unimaginable pain and suffering in the name of science. It was a story of cruelty and madness that sent shivers down my spine. But my discovery was cut short when the lights suddenly went out. The electricity had failed, plunging me into total darkness. Panic set in as I fumbled for my flashlight, my heart pounding in my chest. In the darkness, the asylum had transformed into a nightmarish maze. The once familiar corridors now felt like a trap, and I could hear the whispers and cries growing louder. It was as if the spirits of the asylum were closing in on me, seeking revenge for the atrocities that had been committed here. I stumbled through the darkness, desperately trying to find my way out. Every turn I took seemed to lead me deeper into the heart of the asylum. It was as if the building itself was conspiring against me, twisting and shifting to keep me trapped. Hours passed, but it felt like an eternity. I was disoriented and terrified, but I couldn't give up. I had to make it out of there alive. I pushed forward, driven by sheer determination and fear. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I saw a glimmer of light up ahead. I rushed towards it, bursting out of the asylum's front doors into the pouring rain. I had made it out alive, but the horrors I had witnessed would stay with me forever. As I looked back at the asylum, I couldn't help but wonder if the spirits of the past still lingered within its walls. The truth may never be known, but one thing was certain. I had come face to face with the darkest depths of human cruelty and the unexplainable forces that can haunt our world, and I had survived to tell the tale.